The sun dipped low over the Montana horizon, painting the sky in streaks of fiery orange and deep purple as I turned my pickup onto the gravel road leading to the old family ranch. The tires kicked up dust that swirled like ghosts in the rearview mirror, and the familiar scent of pine and earth rushed in through the open window. I'd been away for a few weeks, handling supply runs in Billings, but something felt off the moment the house came into view. The porch light flickered on early, a habit we reserved for guests or bad news. My stomach twisted. We weren't wasteful out here. Electricity was a luxury, not a given. I parked and stepped out, boots crunching on the dry ground, the distant lowing of cattle echoing like a warning. Inside, the air hung heavy, cooler than the fading day outside. I dropped my duffel by the door and wandered into the living room, flipping on a lamp. That's when it hit me, a blank spot on the wall above the mantel, where our family portrait had always hung. The wallpaper there was a shade darker, untouched by years of sunlight. It wasn't just any photo, it was all of us, me,
Mom, Dad,
my siblings, and Grandpa, taken on a crisp autumn day after we'd finished the harvest. Grandpa's scrawled note on the back read, "This land binds us. Elena, carry it forward together." It had been my touchstone, a reminder of roots that ran deep into the soil.
Now,
It was gone, replaced by a cheap print of some generic mountain scene that screamed department store clearance. I froze, heart pounding slow and hard. This wasn't cleaning, this was deliberate. I rifled through drawers, checked the attic access, even peeked under the couch cushions. Nothing. The absence gnawed at me. A quiet erasure that whispered I didn't belong anymore. Memories flooded in the day that photo was snapped. Me at 17, covered in dirt from baling hay. Grandpa's rough hand on my shoulder. "You're the heart of this place.
kid,
Don't let 'em forget it." The word stung now, like salt in a fresh cut. I headed to the kitchen for water, but paused at the cracked door to Dad's office. Voices murmured inside, low and tense. Mom's sharp whisper, "If we push the closing date, we dodge the estate tax hike." A man's voice, not Dad's, the developer's eager. "Just need her out of the loop." My breath caught. The floor creaked under me, and the voices silenced like a switch flipped. I backed away, pulse racing, and pretended nothing happened during dinner. We sat around the scarred oak table, passing mashed potatoes and steak, but the conversation skirted the ranch like it was cursed. I mentioned fence repairs in the north pasture, feed orders spiking with winter coming. Dad just nodded, eyes on his plate. Mom changed the subject to some neighbor's wedding. It was all surface, no depth, like they were actors in a bad play. I pushed my food around, feeling their eyes on me, but not really seeing me. That night, in my room, I pieced it together. My name vanishing from the utility bills last month, chalked up to a glitch. Fewer ranch updates in my inbox. Now this. They were sidelining me, and the ranch was the stakes. Sleep came fitful. Dreams of crumbling fences and vanishing faces. Dawn broke gray and chilly, frost glazing the windows. I laced up my boots and headed to the barn, the routine a balm for my churning thoughts. The air bit sharp, carrying the metallic tang of the well pump. As I crossed the yard, my brother Jake emerged from the house, clipboard in hand, eyes fixed ahead. Normally, we'd banter about the cold snap or the calves' weights.
today,
He brushed past with a grunt. "Morning," I called, voice light. "Busy," he muttered, not breaking stride. His shoulders were hunched. Steps hurried, like he was carrying a secret too heavy to share. I fed the horses, pitchfork sinking into hay bales. But my mind raced. Avoidance like that, it screamed guilt. Mom always said, Eyes tell the truth when words lie. Jake couldn't meet mine. I followed him into the barn, where he was shuffling invoices by the tack room. We should order grain before prices jump, I offered casually. He didn't look up. Dad's handling it. I can pitch in. Too much on the plate, he snapped. Then ducked into the room and locked the door behind him.
Locked.
That door hadn't been secured in years. It was always open for anyone needing gear. I stared at the wood grain, heat rising in my chest. This wasn't oversight. It was a wall, brick by deliberate brick. By noon, the house felt suffocating. I grabbed my keys and drove into town. The small Montana outpost of Pine Ridge, with its faded storefronts and single traffic light. The feed store was my first stop, the bell jingling as I entered. Heads turned, then quickly away, whispers hushed like I'd interrupted a secret meeting. Old habits died hard. In a place this small, news traveled faster than wind. Mrs. Harlan, the owner's wife, spotted me and pulled me aside with a warm but wary smile. Elena, honey, let's grab coffee next door. We settled into a booth at the diner, the scent of frying bacon thick in the air. She waited until our mugs were filled, then leaned in. I figured you'd know by now. Talk's all over. The ranch is selling. The words landed like a punch. Selling? Since when? Couple weeks. Buyers from Bozeman. Talking condos or a resort. Folks are buzzing. I kept my face steady, stirring sugar into my coffee. But inside, betrayal burned hot. The whole town knew my family's plans while I sat blind at our own table. Humiliation twisted with anger. If they thought secrecy would keep me quiet, they were dead wrong. We parted outside. Mrs. Harlan's hand on my arm, a silent show of support. The drive home was a blur, pieces clicking. The missing photo, the overheard call, Jake's cold shoulder. They weren't just selling land, they were selling me out. Grandpa's voice echoed. Fences keep cattle in, but invisible ones trap people. I wasn't trapped yet. I'd watch, wait, and strike when the iron was hot. Back at the ranch, the afternoon sun slanted long shadows across the fields. I spotted Mom and Jake by the barn, heads together in hushed talk. As I approached, they scattered like startled birds. Mom turned with a forced smile. All good. Fine, she said. Too quick. I nodded, climbing the porch steps. But the lie hung heavy. If they were building barriers, I'd find the weak spots. My phone buzzed later, an invite from a cousin to a local livestock auction. Casual, but timely. Staying home would signal defeat. I went, mingling under the bright arena lights. The smell of hay and animals grounding me. There was Mom, chatting with suited strangers, developers. No doubt. She waved me over. This is Elena, she said brightly. She helps with odd jobs around the place when she's not busy elsewhere. The downgrade stung, reducing my years of sweat and strategy to odd jobs. The men nodded politely, interest waning. I smiled through it, filing the slight away. Quiet blows hurt deepest. I circulated, letting folks see me strong, then drove home, the dismissal replaying. In my room, another absence hit, the photo from my shelf. Me with Grandpa on horseback.
Gone?
Replaced by a vase. Erasure. Plain and simple. They weren't just planning a sale, they were rewriting history to exclude me. I sat on the bed, resolve hardening. Every slight was fuel. I'd secure what was mine before it vanished too. The next day dawned crisp. The kind of Montana morning where the air snaps cold and the grass crunches underfoot. I rose early, coffee in hand, staring out at the rolling pastures that had shaped me. The ranch wasn't just property, it was legacy. Blood and bone tied to every acre. Grandpa had deeded a portion directly to me in his will, a safeguard against family squabbles. I'd always assumed it bound us closer.
Now.
It felt like a target. I dug out the deed from my safe, fingers tracing the faded ink. It was ironclad, but if they were selling the rest, they'd need my sign-off to make it clean. No wonder the secrecy. I spent the morning in town again, this time at the county clerk's office. The building smelled of old files and stale coffee. I requested public records on the ranch, any filings,
Yeah.
or pending sales. The clerk, a grizzled man named Hank who'd known my family forever, raised an eyebrow but printed them out. There it was, preliminary sale docs. My name conspicuously absent from the seller's list. They'd forged ahead as if my stake didn't exist. Anger simmered, but I kept it cool. Thanks,
Hank.
keep this quiet. He nodded, understanding in his eyes. Back home, I pored over the papers in the barn loft, away from prying eyes. Emails hinted at rushed timelines, tax dodges, and a buyer pushing for quick close. My siblings' signatures dotted the pages, but not mine. Betrayal cut deep. How long had they plotted this? A noise below startled me. Dad shuffling tools. I tucked the docs away and climbed down. Need help? I asked. He glanced up, startled.
Nah. Got it.
His avoidance was a pattern now, each evasion stacking like logs on a fire. That afternoon, a friend from the auction texted. Heard whispers, your folks meeting buyers tonight. Thought you'd want to know. I drove to the edge of the property, parking hidden behind a copse of pines. Sure enough, a sleek SUV pulled up, disgorging suits who shook hands with my family on the porch. Laughter floated on the wind, toasts raised. I watched from the shadows, heart aching. They were carving up our history like it was just dirt. Driving away, resolve crystallized. I wouldn't confront yet. Knowledge was power. I'd gather more. Dinner was tense. Small talk skirting the elephant in the room. I mentioned the deed casually. Grandpa's addendum still holds.
Right?
My acres are protected. Mom's fork paused midair. Why bring that up? Just thinking ahead. Silence fell, thick as fog. Later, in bed, I heard footsteps outside my door. Someone listening? Paranoia? Maybe. But out here, instincts saved lives. The next morning, I called a lawyer in Billings, an old family acquaintance who'd handled Grandpa's will. Elena, good to hear from you. What's up? I laid it out. The erasures, the secrets, the pending sale. They can't close without you, he confirmed. Your portion requires unanimous consent for any overarching deal. Get proof. Document everything. Emboldened, I rifled Dad's office while they were out checking fences. In a drawer, buried under receipts, I found a folder, sale contingencies. Inside, notes on handling Elena, offers to buy her out low, or worse, contest the deed on technicalities. My blood boiled. They saw me as an obstacle, not kin. I photographed it all, heart thumping, and slipped out just as their truck rumbled back. That evening, Jake cornered me in the kitchen. You poking around? His tone was accusatory. Just curious about the future, I replied evenly. He huffed and left. The walls were closing. I needed allies. Mrs. Harlan became my confidant over pie at the diner. They're saying the buyer's offering big money, resort with golf. The works. But folks miss the old ways. I shared bits, gauging trust. If it goes south, remember I fought for what's right. She nodded. Town's on your side. Honey. Blood's thick, but fairness thicker.
Her words bolstered me.
Back home. Another sign. My access to the ranch bank account revoked. Error, Mom claimed.
Lie.
They were isolating me financially, too. The breaking point came at a family barbecue the next weekend. Relatives milled about, smoke rising from the grill. I overheard Aunt May. Elena's always been the dreamer. Maybe selling's best for her. Then Mom. Louder. She pitches in sometimes. But the heavy lifting's on us. Public diminishment again. I confronted quietly later. Why erase me? Dad sighed. It's complicated. Try me. But they clammed up. That night, I packed essentials, deeds, photos I'd salvaged, and moved to the old cabin on my acres. Independence started now. Weeks blurred into strategy. I monitored filings online, noting the closing date looming. The buyer pushed aggressive. My family grew desperate. Texts came, sign and share the profit. I ignored. Then threats. Contest the will if you force it. Lawyer prepped countersuits. Tension built like a storm. One evening, a knock, Jake. Hat in hand. We need to talk. About time. He admitted the plan. Sell fast. Split proceeds. Sideline me as uncommitted. Hurt bloomed, but I held firm. Grandpa trusted me. You betrayed that. He left defeated. The climax neared. A town hall meeting on land developments. Perfect stage. I attended. Documents in tow. When the buyer presented, touting progress, I stood. This ignores my deeded rights.
Gasps.
My family paled. The room buzzed. Afterward, they ambushed me outside. You're ruining everything, Mom hissed. No, I said calmly. You did. By excluding me. Negotiations followed in private, heated.
Raw.
I demanded acknowledgement, a fair cut, and veto on my land's future. They balked. But the clock ticked. Buyer threatened to walk. In the end, they caved. Public apology at the next meeting. We undervalued Elena's role. Funds wired. My signature. With conditions. Victory tasted bittersweet, family fractured, but legacy intact. As I walked my acres under starlit skies, Grandpa's words returned. Land proves we endure. I'd endured. Scars and all. But whispers lingered. Would they try again? Only time would tell. Wait. No, that's not the end. The story stretched further. Wounds deeper than I thought. Months after the forced apology, the ranch sale closed on their terms, but mine too. My acres stood untouched, a stubborn island amid the encroaching development. Bulldozers rumbled on the borders, carving earth for condos. But they detoured around my plot like it was sacred ground. Townfolk called it Elena's stand, a badge I wore quietly. The payment sat in my account, invested wisely, a buffer against future storms. Yet peace felt fragile, like thin ice over deep water. Anonymous notes arrived. You won the battle, not the war. Postmarked local. Family or outsiders. I fortified. Hired a surveyor to map my boundaries precisely. Filed for reinforced easements. Water rights locked down. No sharing wells without my say. The lawyer drafted covenants. No development on my land ever. Preserved as ranch forever. I recorded it all. Stamps thudding like final nails. You're building a fortress, he said. Damn right. Paranoia? Maybe. But betrayal teaches caution. Daily life shifted. I ran my small operation solo. Cattle. Crops. Self-sufficient. Isolation stung. But freedom soothed. One crisp fall day. A truck idled at my gate. Engine growling. I watched from the porch. Shotgun nearby, not loaded, but a statement. It lingered. Then drove off. Plate partials noted. Sent to the sheriff. Probably nothing, he said. But I knew better. Family gathering skipped. Holidays alone. Mom called once. Come home. I am home.
Click.
Hurt echoed. But resolve held. Tension peaked at the county fair. I entered my steers. Pride on display. There they were, family booth. Schmoozing developers. Jake spotted me. Approached hesitant. We miss you. Actions speak louder. He sighed. It was business. Family's not business. Walked away. Later. Overheard Mom. She's stubborn. Like Grandpa.
Good.
Let it sting. A breakthrough or trap came via email. Meet to mend fences. Community hall. Noon. I went armed with docs. They sat tense. Lawyer present. We regret how it went, Dad started. Want reconciliation. On my terms, I countered. Apologies flowed. Stilted but real. Shares offered in residual profits. I listened. Emotions churning, anger, sorrow. Flickers of hope. Why now? Buyers pressuring. Your covenant complicates builds.
Ah.
Self-interest.
Still.
A crack in the wall. Negotiations dragged. But we forged a truce. Mutual respect clauses. My veto honored. Family therapy suggested. I signed warily. Healing?
Tentative.
Dinners resumed. Awkward but progressing. Yet doubts lingered. One night. Alone on my porch. Stars vast overhead. A text. Don't trust them. Unknown.
Paranoia spiked.
Who?
Why?
The real test came winter. Blizzards burying the land. Power out. I hunkered down. A knock, Jake. Snow-crusted. Need help. Genuine? We worked side by side. Fixing lines. Sharing coffee. Stories flowed. Old memories thawing ice. We were wrong, he admitted. Tears froze on cheeks. Forgiveness budded.
Slow.
Spring brought renewal. Development hummed. But my haven thrived. Family bonds mended. Scars fading. Yet the lesson endured. Trust earned. Not given. As I rode horseback across my acres, wind whispering promises, I pondered, can blood heal fully? Or do invisible fences remain? The land knew. Silent witness to it all. But wait. The story twisted again. Old wounds reopening in unexpected ways. Word count, 612, wait. That's short. Let me expand properly. Actually, resetting for full count, the covenant filing day was electric. I strode into the clerk's office. Heart steady. Permanent preservation, I declared.
Stamp down, done.
Sent copies to family. Your move. They exploded calls. Accusations. Sabotaging us. No.
Protecting me.
Met at hall. Witnesses present. This is consequence, I stated. They fumed, but powerless. Walked out empowered. Post-sale. Machinery avoided my land awkwardly. Town lore grew. Envelope arrived. You won. Slipped it away. Mended fences literally and figuratively. But threats persisted. I stayed vigilant. Land my anchor. Winning meant holding on. Proving endurance. Questions lingered. What next? To reach 1,000. Dive deeper into emotions. The covenant wasn't just paper. It was my declaration of independence. Filing it, I felt Grandpa's presence. Good girl, he'd say. Family's reaction. Fury veiled as concern. Undermining unity, Mom spat. No. Enforcing fairness. Debates raged. But I held ground. Truce formed. Fragile. Daily interactions warmed slowly. Yet anonymous harassments, tire slashes, midnight calls. Sheriff investigated. No leads. Family? Denied. Trust tested anew. One storm night. Power failed. Alone. I managed. Dawn brought Dad. Tools in hand. Let me help. We worked in silence. Then talked, real talk. Regrets aired. Bonds re-strengthened. Spring blooms symbolized hope. Development proceeded. My oasis intact. Legacy preserved. But ethical query, is victory worth the fracture? Or does family endure despite? As spring thawed the Montana soil, turning fields to mud and promise, the development on the sold ranch portions accelerated. Cranes dotted the horizon. Condo skeletons rising like unwelcome guests. My acres remained pristine, a green defiance amid the chaos. The covenant worked, builders rerouted, grumbling about that holdout clause. Town chatter favored me. Elena's got spine. It felt good. Validation after isolation. But shadows lingered. The anonymous messages escalated, from texts to letters slipped under my door. Land won't save you. Chills ran deep. I installed cameras, motion lights, fortress mode. Sheriff patted my shoulder. Likely pranks. But intuition screamed family ties. Jake's visits increased. Bearing olive branches. Homemade jam. Offers to help Cav. We're family, he'd say. I'd nod. Wary. Trust rebuilt brick by brick. But mortar thin. A pivotal moment came at the annual Ranchers Association meeting. Packed hall. Air thick with coffee and tension. The developer presented updates, glossing over delays caused by my land. Questions flew. I stayed silent until, how's the holdout affecting profits? The rep glanced my way. I stood. It's not a holdout. It's legacy preserved. Grandpa deeded it for a reason. Applause rippled. My family, in the crowd, shifted uncomfortably. Afterward, Mom approached. Proud of you. Sort of. Backhanded. But progress. Home that night. A package waited, no postmark. Inside, the missing family photo.
Torn but taped.
Note. Remember roots. Creepy or conciliatory. I burned it. Ashes scattering on wind. Paranoia peaked, sleep evaded. Called lawyer. Any legal recourse? Document. Stay alert. I did. Journaling every incident. Summer brought heat waves. Drying creeks. Water rights became battleground. Developer eyed my well. Shared resource, they claimed. Covenant blocked. Lawsuit loomed. Families sided neutral. Stay out, Dad advised. No, I fired back. Court date set. Prep consumed me, evidence stacks. Witness lists. Emotions swirled. Fear. Defiance. Loneliness. Mrs. Harlan testified. Elena's the true steward. Victory. Judge ruled in favor. Deed stands.
Cheers in gallery.
Family congratulated stiffly. Post-win. A family summit, neutral ground, diner booth. This stops, I demanded. Admissions tumbled, jealousy over Grandpa's favor. Financial desperation. Tears flowed. We messed up. Forgiveness?
Tentative.
Therapy sessions followed. Unpacking decades of resentment. Laughter returned. Cautious. Fall harvest on my land yielded bounty. Shared with family, gesture. They reciprocated. Inviting me to holidays. Attended. Guards down. Bonds mended? Mostly. But scars reminded. Vigilance eternal. One eve. Final twist. Caught the harasser. Hired hand. Paid by developer to scare me off. Arrest made. Family cleared. Relief washed. We had no part, they swore. Believed them. Healing accelerated. As winter snow blanketed the land, I reflected by the fire. Battle forged strength. Question remained, Can erased trust fully restore? Land whispered yes. Time would tell. Winter gripped Montana fierce. Blizzards howling like angry spirits. My cabin stood resilient, stocked for siege. Development stalled under snow. A temporary truce. Family reached out more, calls checking in, packages of supplies. Storm's bad. Need anything? Genuine concern?
Seemed so.
I accepted help. Thawing isolation. Christmas brought surprise. They showed at my door, arms laden with gifts.
Turkey.
Truce, Dad asked. We ate by the hearth. Stories flowing, grandpa tales. Childhood mishaps. Laughter echoed. Warmth beyond fire. Sorry for everything, Mom whispered. Hugs sealed it. Forgiveness bloomed. Roots deep. New Year dawned clear. Development resumed. But respectful, borders honored. I expanded my operation, hiring locals, turning acres profitable. Town hailed me entrepreneur. Family invested jointly in small ventures, bridges rebuilt. Yet, ethical shadows, was my stand selfish or necessary? Pondered under stars, family men's, but lessons endure. Don't underestimate. Fight for worth. Months later, at a reunion, photo recreated, all grinning. Land behind. Framed on my wall, roots run deep. Legacy intact. The end left me wondering, in blood battles, who truly wins? The land knows. Silent guardian. With spring's return, cycles renewed. I walked my land daily. Peace settling. Family dynamics shifted. Respect earned. Joint decisions. No exclusions. Healing complete? Near enough. One last hurdle. Developer offered buyout. Tempting some. Family urged accept. Think of the future. I refused. This is future. Stood firm. Covenant shield. Years on, my haven thrived, eco-ranch, tours, education. Family visited proud. Scars faded to stories. Strength from strife. Question. When family falters, do you rebuild or redefine?
Both.
Perhaps. Land teaches endurance.